Welcome into the BBOC tailgate. We bet college football player props. I'm Tim Kalinowski, joined by Mike Calabrese. Calabrese is back. I went 2-1 last week, kept us afloat. I had my guy, next man up, do your job type of situation. So we're 21-10-1 on the season, heading into week 8. Let's keep the train rolling here. Calabrese, start us off.
We're going to start with a team that has not had a lot of player prop overs in recent years. We're going to go with the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who have said Alvita Zane to Jeff Sims as their QB1, bring in Heinrich Harburg off the bench. He is 3-1 as a starter, and he has been a lightning rod for them. He's a dual threat, and he's up against a Northwestern defense in this spot that can't stop anybody. They're 113th in success rate on that side of the ball and 124th in passes defended in the secondary. So what that means is that he's going to be able to have a lot of success through the air. In 3 of his 4 starts, he's averaged 24 attempts for Matt Rule, and he averages 6.6 yards per attempt. So that puts him in the 150, 160 range in a game like this if he just plays an average performance. But I think he's going to exceed that in a game that now is taking on increased importance for the Cornhuskers, because when you look at what they have down the pipe, they have Wisconsin, they have Iowa. If they win out, they borderline control their own destiny in the Big Ten West, which is shocking in year one, given the fact that they opened the season that ugly 13-10 loss against Minnesota. It's all been different since Harburg's taken over. He's the first scholarship quarterback from the state of Nebraska. He's from Kearney to sign with the Cornhuskers since 2001. So, a native son doing them proud. His father played for the Cornhuskers in the early 90s. So it's a family affair there in Lincoln. I really like the over here. I'd play it up to 150.5.
Yeah, he sounds like an extra from The Sound of Music, but good luck playing Nebraska overs. I like it though. It's just low enough that it shouldn't take much. This is college football. Come on here. And I'm going to start way higher. That seems like almost triple that. Spencer Rattler over 270 passing yards. Look, few teams in the country right now are hotter than the Missouri Tigers. And a big reason for that is because they score points. Pretty much every offensive metric statistic that doesn't include running the ball, Missouri is near or in the top 25. So why am I talking so much about Missouri's offense if I got a Spencer Rattler prop? Well, because if you're playing them, you better be able to keep up with them. And I think South Carolina can do just that. If you haven't been paying attention, Spencer Rattler's having a really impressive season. 11 touchdowns, 3 picks, 73.6 is the completion percentage, 287 yards per game through the air. The South Carolina offense has an advantage in the following. Pass play explosiveness versus Missouri's pass play explosives allowed, pass down explosiveness, pass play EPA. I think we get an old-fashioned shootout in Columbia. The Missouri one, give me Spencer Rattler over 270 passing yards. I like it up to 282.
I like it. I'm gone for 1 week, and all of a sudden you're a PhD in college player props. You're dropping EPA and explosives and all these acronyms. I love it. I think you've made a very strong case in that game. I'm also interested, perhaps, in under on his rushing total. It's sitting at about 18-19 in the market, and we know that their offensive line really struggles. And as we point out, almost every single week, rushing yards on sacks, that negative yardage counts against your total in college football. So if he goes down 3 or 4 times, very difficult for him to go over that number in the high teens.
All right, I wish it didn't so badly. I wish it didn't count so badly, but it is what it is.
This next one is going to apply to people in states where you can bet on player props and other states where essentially you can have generic stats. And that is Kyle McCord to throw an interception in the Ohio State-Penn State game. There's going to be an opportunity by some books for turnovers in the game overall. So you can go ahead and go over on turnovers in this game, because I think Kyle McCord is due. Even though he comes into the game 6th nationally in QBR, I think there's a big spot here for him to regress against a Manny Diaz defense that is number 1 in success rate and number 1 in havoc. They average 4.5 sacks per game, which is far and away the best number in the entire country. That's a sack and a half more than Maryland, who's the 2nd best in the Big Ten. And you saw what Maryland was able to do against Ohio State for at least 2.5 quarters. I think Ohio State's going to have real issues blocking up this Penn State front. They're 48th in pass blocking grade, according to PFF. And I think with him being under duress for a lot of this game, you're going to see him press and make a mistake throwing into one of the best secondaries in college football. So I'll go over the 0.5 interceptions for Kyle McCord.
Yeah, I just can't get that near pick against Notre Dame out of my head. I think total defensive rock fight at 12 o'clock in the Big Ten.
And basically, when you say that near interception, those are the kind of data points that I'm looking at. He has 7 turnover-worthy throws this year, and he's also put the ball on the turf twice. So he's someone who's been a little bit loose with the football at times. I think he finally gets burned.
Yeah, that Penn State defense is beyond legit. Can't wait for that game. I'm going to head over to the Big 12, though. UCF receiver Kobe Hudson over 45.5 receiving yards. This weekend, the Knights get back their star quarterback, John Rice Plumlee, transfer from Ole Miss. He missed the team's he's missed the last 3.5 games with a leg injury, and they need him back because, like I said, they're traveling to Norman for a duel with Oklahoma. Now, Hudson was off to a great start this season, 130 plus receiving yards in 3 of his first 4 games, but he's fallen off as of late. And that's partly because UCF backup, Timmy McClain, he ain't that great. He ain't John Rice Plumlee. But when Plumlee is at the helm, Hudson gets his targets, and I expect him to especially get his targets once again in a big time game because UCF is a 17-point dog. So they're going to need to be playing catch up all game long. Even if it gets in at garbage time, I like that as well. It doesn't matter for us. We're betting on player props. Garbage time sometimes is a good thing. This matchup also works out well for the UCF offense. They have an advantage over the Oklahoma D in pass play explosives and a small edge in a bunch of other passing categories as well. I think we're getting potentially the most talented receiver on the field at a discount here. Hudson over 45.5, and I like it to 55.5.
If you're playing the college football player prop tailgate drinking game, feel free to go ahead and throw one back here because I'm going to throw out the buzzword game flow. You got into it. The game flow is in your favor in this one. They're going to be playing catch up for most of the game. And while John Rice Plumlee is a phenomenal runner, and we know what the Gus Malzahn offense is built around, they're going to have no choice but to put the ball in orbit. So I like that play a lot. I'm going to stick in the Big 12 for my last play here of Week 8, and it's an anytime touchdown for the West Virginia starting quarterback, Garrett Green. Green should have a stocking on Neil Brown's Christmas mantle this year because he is saving this guy's job in Morgantown. And he is beyond just being a dual threat. He's also a red zone threat. When you look at it this year, he has multiple touchdowns off of the read option inside of the 10. And he also broke a 35-yard touchdown on a scramble 2 weeks ago. So when you look at his games this year, when you throw out the one that he was injured in the backyard brawl and their game against Duquesne when they had, they emptied their bench, when he starts and plays a full game, he has at least one rushing touchdown in each of them. So I think this is an absolute must play on plus money. You're going to want to go ahead and shop around to get the best number, but I think you're going to see him tote the rock across the goal line.
Sneaky, really good game this weekend, West Virginia and Oklahoma State. I have no idea what to do with this Oklahoma State team. I think they finally did find a quarterback though in Bowman, but we'll see. We don't care about Bowman. We care about the other guy. Calabrese, I have one more question for you. I am trying to find the stones to take Marvin Harrison Jr. under 83.5 receiving yards. You alluded to it earlier. I think it's a rock fight. Talk me in or out of it.
To me, it just comes down to the availability of Egbuka, because if he plays, then you're going to have to at least be even-handed in your coverage. You're not going to have an opportunity to double or to shade, zone coverage over the top against Harrison all game. But if he doesn't, I think it just makes sense for Mandia to say, we're just going to take away that side of the field. We're going to double him. We're going to roll our coverage the entire time. So I think that's the right way to go about it if Egbuka is not going for Ohio State.
So I'll be keeping my eyes on that. All the Twitter beat writers, I'll be having my refreshing all morning. And if the number stays relatively the same, I might play it. So follow us both in the Action app. That'll do it for Week 8. I'm looking forward to it, Calabrese. We got to keep this thing going. All right. Have a good one. See you next week.